We're here, we're finally doing it. We're gonna do the Church of Handbag Mints. Also, my friend told me I should make like a cute and cozy intro, so I made this. That really is what I made. I spent the evening doing it. I made it myself, so if you have anything bad to say about it, just keep it to yourself. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna read you the info for the Church of Handbag Mints. It says, in the beginning, Mother made the mint and rested it upon a bed of fresh earth. At its peppery fresh aroma, the virginal soils birthed the handbag to enclose it. The holy balance of handbag and mint nurtured Mother's widows forevermore, now welcoming members who carry sugar-free. So I'm just doing the external shell first. I've used a few reference images. I'm using quite a few of just some typical British town, old style churches, and finding, what kind of roof I want, what kind of stone I want. They're typically older stone. They're not always the best kept stone, so a little bit, like wear and tear. And then I found a picture of one that has this sort of odd roof where it slopes up shallowly and then turns a lot steeper. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to use that. You can see I've started to make a steeple. I think it's called a steeple, but at the moment it just sort of looks a bit like a castle tower. So I found this item in Debug, which is it's just is it even from Debug? I don't think it is. I think it's just an actual roof piece. And I sized it up with the tool mod, and I thought this looked really effective for a church steeple. It does later on have a couple of lighting issues, but they're easily fixed just by clicking on it, moving it, and then putting it back again. And I went for this quite a minty theme to begin with, because this is the Church of Handbag Mints. This is about mints. This is about praising the mints. And that's mints with an M-I-T-S, not mints like it's not beef. Although my nana did ask for mints from the shop once, from my uncle, and he did return with minced beef, and she was not very happy about that. But I'm putting in these doors, and I'm using quite a few items from, is it called the castle building set? I'm not quite sure, but it's those items, and I was like, you know what, this is a good excuse to use those, because I don't really know what else I'd use them for. And I found this cute little, it's got a fox on it, the window, but I thought it's minty coloured. You can pretend it's a mint, just squint, and it works. So I'm removing the floors, and as you can see, as I said, I'm using these castle kit. It's not called that, is it? It's called something else. Or is it called castle kit? I don't know. But I'm using those. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at my references, and I'm sort of doing half references, half just what looks cool. I wanted to do like a small town, homely British style church, but I didn't want to do anything that was specifically religious, that specifically, is assigned to a specific religion. So I decided to make one up, and because this is in Widow Creek, which is my save file with all my old ladies in it, and everyone knows that all old ladies have mints in their handbag. It's a well-known fact about the animal kingdom. So we've done the Church of Handbag Mints because I think I'm doing the Lord's work here, really. Because I'm putting reasoning into why all old ladies have mints in their handbag. And it is because of this Church of the Handbag Mints. I could have the old grandmother Illuminati knocking on my door because I'm giving away this information. If I don't upload the next video, it's probably because I was smothered to death by a sleeve tissue. But we're gonna go... As you can see there, the steeple's got some lighting issues. But like I said, it's easily fixed if you just click it and click it off again. And oddly, after I did that a few times, it stopped occurring and it stayed normally lit. I assume it's some reasoning because it's above the roof line, but technically the game thinks it's indoors occasionally or something. So I'm going around adding more windows. I used moved objects on to place a few of these because they sort of go between the floor levels. But because the windows are arched, it's only really that top arched part that clips onto the next floor, so it doesn't create any wall glitching or anything. It's not too much of a big deal. So yeah, the lore is that all of the widows in Widow Creek, they come to the Church of Handbag Mints and get their handbag mints blessed. I don't know. So I'm going to split this build into, I think, 3, just because it's quite long and I put quite a bit of detail into it. So in this video, I'm just going to be doing the shell and the grounds around it, because I put quite a lot of detail into the grounds, and also detail into sort of making the lot feel like cohesive as a whole. So some of the foliage, etc., is gonna go and tie in with the high street. You can see I've already placed some walls and things. But those do change later on. There's a lot of detail in churches. There aren't many items that really allow me to do that in The Sims. So I'm using columns, and then I'm going to use some other items later on to sort of modify the columns and customize them a bit. Because churches tend to be quite bottom heavy. They've got like junk in the trunk. Where they've been built with quite wide columns, and then obviously the stonework gets thinner as you look up and there's more detail. So I'm trying to replicate that here with as many items as I can. I do wish there was more in the game for building things like this. You can see here I'm adding in these other, I think that this is another roof piece, but I'm using it to widen the columns at the bottom. And they do stick through into the interior, so when we get onto doing the interior, I'm going to have some creative ways of trying to mask those and hide them. So I placed this item here because I've been past quite a few churches that seem to have this sort of little nook near the entrance where they have, you know, like some hymns or something written on it, or dates of events that are going on. And then I used another column piece, this is a debug piece. But again, just to sort of create that illusion of the bottom of the church having more detail, it being a bit wider at the bottom, tying it in with the columns and with the windows. And then I used this debug fence to sort of divide this entrance with the fountain. And I was going to use more fencing, but I sort of, some actual fencing, but I ended up using that same piece because I thought it tied it in better. So now we're going to move on to the grounds, and this is, I could have just gone with the fence that was there to begin with, but obviously I like to make things difficult for myself. I have to do things in a way that I feel like the game doesn't want me to be doing this, and yeah, I'm going to do it. So I got out all of these pieces that are used for dry stone walls. I'm not sure which pack these came in, but they are in live edit. But they come in these nice rounded pieces where you can really make some nice custom shapes that typically the game doesn't allow us to make these kind of wall shapes. And I used the tool mod a little bit just to nudge them over the edge of the lot because they weren't lining up. I hadn't planned my curve particularly well. But I like that they have some damage in them, some holes in them. It adds to the detail of a church being quite old and having some wear and tear over time. I even did the back here too, and I added this gate to sort of connect it to the back of the high street. And I sped this up quite a bit because you don't want to watch me place these at normal speed. You'd get bored. So we're going to move on to foliage. I got these ivy pieces out, which are in live edit, but they're quite finicky to place. They're quite difficult to line up. So I just showed you that I place this one, and then I do the rest off camera. But you can see the result after. Ivy is a really common thing in the UK. I think that there's one name for this particular ivy is literally English ivy, even though you can find it in many different places, and it's because it is so common in the UK. It grows everywhere. So I'm placing this path, and I'm gonna outline it with the swatch that is sort of a mix of grass and soil to tie it in with the terrain. And then I got this sand swatch because I figured that if people are going to be walking up and down this gravel path over and over again, it's going to have wear in it. It's going to grind down the rocks are going to shift, and you're going to end up with this like sandy central part, especially at the steps near the entrance too. There's going to be people stomping down and knocking the rocks everywhere. And then I found these, I think these are vampire gravestones, but I've got a selection of these and making a little graveyard arrangement too. So I wanted this church to look quite old, but I didn't want it to look like a really worn down church. This is the Church of Handbag Mints. It's very important. It doesn't deserve to be derelict. So it's kept in a decent state. And then I used this swatch. I like using this swatch of stony, sort of, what would you call those? Stone slabs. And if you're really particular with it and you have lots of time to waste, like me, you can erase it so that it looks quite seamless. You can pick the specific stones that you want to reveal. And I'm adding foliage, some of this grass, some of this these yellow flowers mixed with the grass. I wanted the vibe to be, you know, like there is growth going on in this graveyard, but it is also kept. So the foliage is mostly behind the graves, and I've made it so that the front of the graves look as though they've been, you know, trimmed back so that it's respectful for whoever's, you know, buried there. And then I'm using these bushes. I'm using a selection from Live Edit, and also I'm using some from the gardening. I think most of these large flat bushes are from Live Edit. I like this grass item, that's also from Live Edit. It really blends in and matches the color of the, you know, the base floor, that base grass. So you can place it there and it really adds something, but it's not a different color green. So you can use it and you can place like a selection of different foliage in clusters to make a garden. And then if you use the grass, you can almost use that as a blending tool to kind of blend the selection of plants in with the existing terrain, so that there's less of a divide between this like bright green grass color and then the dark green foliage. And then I'm just painting in some more realistic grass tones to separate this sort of like well-kept graveyard area with the, you know, more overgrown and less used side of the church. And then I'm just adding in some soil at the bottom of the graves too. Not because the graves are particularly soily, but just because, you know, it's more realistic. The grass isn't not going to grow as long there. So yeah, I'm just doing an arrangement that I think really surrounds the gravestones nicely. And then to finish off, I'm just going to use some more of that swatch that is grass and soil underneath the dry stone wall. So one thing I did want to do about this lot, and I'd sort of screwed myself with my idea of making a high street first, is that I would have quite liked the wall, the lower wall, this first floor wall, to be at least, you know, the medium height wall, you know, even better the tall height wall. However, when I changed it, because the game is made so that, you know, it just affects every wall at that height regardless of whether they're linked or not, it was then making all of my shops that I'd built, it would make them tall as well. So I had to just deal with having the smaller wall, which is a shame. I feel like they should change that. I don't, it seems quite restrictive, but there we go. What can you do? I'm just finishing off with a few details. And there we go. That's part 1 of the Church of Handbag Mints. Very necessary. We'll move on to the interior in the next one. We'll be doing the main hall. So thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your days. Be kind to yourselves. And see you in the next one.